So I'm here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Don't ask why I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, but I'm in this cool, kitschy hotel and had a little bit of downtime, had this cool green couch, and I had my travel ruck with me, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity to do a quick overview of this pack. It's not for sale on my website at the moment, but I've had some interest. People have asked about it. I really have come to really love this pack, so I wanted to do an overview, let everybody see it, get some feedback, and see if it might be something that might be worth putting into my rotation in terms of things that I'm regularly producing that people can buy. So I built this about 48 hours before me and my family left for our trip to Ireland. I wanted something that was compact. I wanted something that was light, that I could put under the seat on an airplane, but that I could also use for day hikes. So something that was just as rugged from a materials perspective and a construction perspective as some of my other packs, but not quite so heavily engineered. So my other packs, my packs that are meant for going out into the woods, multi-day trips, they have a lot of reinforcement, extra reinforcement, lots of rivets, lots of pieces. And so I wanted to see if I could do something that was just a little bit more minimal, rely a little bit more on stitching, a little bit less on hardware, and just do something that was just a little bit more for every day. So let me kind of run you through the materials first. So it's made out of the outer shell is 15-ounce wax canvas. It's the same exact wax canvas that I use on all my other packs, on my more industrial strength packs. This is in a color called Sage that I really like. And then it is trimmed. It is actually trimmed with nylon webbing. So this is actually something that I'm experimenting with. I'm constantly obsessing over binding, and the reason is because binding is really important because wax canvas especially frays. So you have to bind it somehow. So this is nylon webbing, and I really like it. It's got a nice feel to it, but it's also really durable. So this is nylon webbing, and then the leather is actually this beautiful piece of oiled, I think 3-4 ounce leather, so really thin, that I sandwiched together in a lot of places to make some of the components. And it was really one of the inspirations for this pack. I really wanted to use that side of leather. It was just beautiful. So again, a little bit more designed, it's a little bit more aesthetic. And it was already dyed, so that made it really easy. So the hardware is solid brass, just like everything else I use. So solid brass roller buckles from Buckle Guy, solid brass rivets. So yeah, okay, so let me kind of walk you through. So super simple construction. So just 2 straps. And as you can see, so you'll see here, normally on my packs, I sew a piece, an anchor down, and then I rivet it. I put 2 rivets through and leather on the back side. With this pack, because I was moving quick and because I wanted to kind of see how far I could push some minimalist materials, I just sewed these, what I call buckle anchors, these straps that hold the buckles. I just sewed them into the base piece of leather here, and then just put 1 rivet. I couldn't help myself with putting at least 1 rivet in here. There's just a lot of strain that goes on the canvas, and wax canvas or canvas in general can rip. It can fray, and especially if it's got something like a rivet, which is kind of sharp on the back side. So I wanted to make sure that it was extra fastened. So 1 rivet here, 1 rivet here, and then on the inside there's just a small piece of leather to keep the back side of the rivet from rubbing up against the wax canvas. And then so this is just like everything else, all the other packs that I make. This is just a cinch closed top. Really like these. Super useful, totally analog. It's not going to break on you. It gives you tons of options. It can be super open, it can be super closed, so really easy. On the front there is sorry zipper haters, there is one zipper pocket. And I did this because this was for international travel, and so I needed something where I could put a passport, my wallet, some things for easy access, and I didn't want to have to dig way down in the pack. So just one zipper pouch, and in this particular zipper pouch, I've got at the moment my wallet, I've got a pair of my reading glasses, and let's see, a random piece of paper. I've got a pen. So it is, I think, 9 inches deep by 9 inches wide. And it is perfect for exactly what it looks like. Just some flat things that you need to get to quickly. This zipper, this is an antique brass zipper. It's a brand called Riri, and I get it, R-I-R-I. I get it from Buckle Guy. This is not necessarily the best option for an outdoor pack, but these zippers are just, they're beautiful. They work really, really well, and I thought it looked great on this pack. The inside pocket here, and the whole pack, actually, we'll talk about this, is lined with 6-ounce wax canvas. So this is new for my packs. Usually I don't line my packs, partly for weight, partly for just production time, and partly because you don't need it when you've got a pack that's meant for being out in the woods, carrying gear, a lot of dirty gear, that kind of stuff. You could have a lining, but you just don't necessarily need it. Again, kind of more simplicity for being, you know, outdoors. But with this, I just wanted a little bit of an extra touch. So I used this really cool chocolate wax canvas. So this is 6-ounce wax canvas. It's a lot thinner, so it's basically just a lining, but still wax canvas. So it's still a tough material. It's not going to tear on you. It's relatively water resistant, UV resistant, but it just gives a little bit of a contrast. So zipper pocket. Then on the inside, I've got my puffy coat, just in case, and to give it a little bit of shape. I've got my meandering maker possibles pouch. Talk about that here in a minute. Down here, I've got a laptop charger. I've got another little meandering maker. This is one of the rectangular ones that I make. Funny, I have an orange hard drive in here, and it's got orange lining. I've been doing this orange lining in more of my pouches lately, and on some of my packs I really like it. It makes it really visible. So I've got this in here. I carry this with me everywhere I go. This has got all my work files on it, just in case. And then I've got my travel headphones. Let's see what else. And then I've got my laptop, and in my laptop sleeve I've got a book, I've got a couple of magazines, so pretty stuffed for, this was just for a few days of travel. I have also used this pack for a couple nights travel where I actually put all my clothes in it, and I had everything I needed, including my computer. So on the inside of the pack, this also lined with this really nice chocolate brown wax canvas, as you can see, and this is what's called a drop lining. And so what that means is that it's essentially a version of it's the same shape as the pack, but it's inside out, which means that there are no seams showing, so there's nothing going to fray, nothing that's going to get loose. It's all just one solid seam. And this is also, again, this is wax canvas, so you've got 2 layers of wax canvas, so still super durable, super weather resistant. You can put anything in here. If it got dirty, if it got wet, whatever, you could hose it off, you could brush it off, easy peasy. The lid is also lined with wax canvas. I didn't necessarily need to do that, but I just thought it looked really nice. You know, again, this is an everyday carry kind of pack. At least this is my everyday carry pack. I use this for work, I use it for travel. But because I don't take it to the woods, it's not covered in, you know, it's not smoky, doesn't have dirt all over it, it doesn't have remnants from food or whatever, shavings in it. So it's just for traveling, going back and forth to work. So I also wanted it to kind of look a little bit cool, a little bit more refined. The chocolate colored 6-ounce wax canvas on the back, and then just a really simple handle. And again, this was a test to see, so I just took this one piece of this leather, so you can see this leather itself and how thin it is, and I just sewed it to the lid of the pack, and it's done a great job. This is a real test. I think if I put these into production, I will probably double this because I think it's just a little bit too thin. It just stretches out just a little bit, and though it's still, the thread, the stitching is holding really tight, and I hang this up, I yank it, I use this handle just for extra protection. I think that I would probably do double of this, but so far it's held on really strongly, and because there's a lot of pressure onto this handle, I did put leather on the inside for this to sew to. The straps that hold the lid closed, these I just riveted. Now, if you're familiar at all with my my 3-day pack or my day pack, I have a piece of leather that sits on top, that's sewn on top, and then a matching one that's sewn on the back, and then I put the strap through it, and then put 2 rivets in there. So it's kind of, you know, it'll survive a zombie apocalypse or apocalypse of any kind. But this, one, I was moving kind of quick, and 2, I wanted to see kind of how this held up if I didn't do all of that, and so far it's held up beautifully. Though it's on the, you can't see it because it's, and that's what's also nice here, is I've kind of hidden some of these component pieces inside the lining. On the inside here are just a couple discs of leather so that the rivets go through the strap, through the canvas, other layer of canvas, and then through a couple just, you know, moderately thin discs of leather so that the rivets have something to bite into and not the canvas. On the back, so this was a real experiment. So again, if you are or are not familiar with my other packs, just so you know, the way I attach the straps to my other packs, I've got 2 thick panels of leather that are 5/6 ounce, and if you don't know what that means, that's, you know, it's almost 1/8 of an inch, maybe almost 1/4 of an inch thick leather that's on the front, and then a matched piece on the back, and they're sewn together, and then the straps are actually riveted, so each strap gets 2 rivets, and then there's another piece of leather that goes over top of those with 3 rivets, so 7 rivets total, totally attached to this pack. Whereas with this, I really wanted to see how far I could get with just sewing the straps on here. So what I did was I took, you know, again, this is the leather that I would use. This is the side that I used. I took 2 pieces of this and I sewed them together. I put just a little bit of padding in here, not really thick, just a little bit of stabilizer, really. Sewed these together and then just sewed them into this panel on the back. Now, this panel that goes all the way across here is partly decorative. It doesn't have to go all the way across, but I thought it looked nice. I think it does look nice, but mainly it's just these. Mainly these the straps are just sewn, so it's really through this top piece of leather and then through the straps and then into the canvas. And there actually is no leather on the back side here. So on other packs, there'd be all kinds of leather on the inside that I was sewing these pieces to, but this doesn't have that. This is just sewn on here. And again, I did that because I wanted to see how it would hold up. That doesn't mean that I intend to do this and just sew on with all my packs. I really like the redundancy of the rivets and the beefiness and all that, but this has held up incredibly well. I have been using this for a few months now. This has been to Ireland, this has been on walks, this has been in the back of cars, this has been tossed around airplanes. I take this back and forth to work, and it hasn't moved at all. It's really, really strong, and I put a lot of stuff in this pack, so I'm really happy with how this is holding up. Actually, it's not fraying, it's not pulling apart, and of course, any of these, and even on any other pack I do, anywhere where there's stress or there's a contact point, you know, that's double stitched, and it's you know, I'll go over it multiple times just to give it some extra strength. So it looks cool, it's minimalist, it doesn't have tons of hardware, so it doesn't weigh the pack down, but it holds the straps really well. And then the part of the strap that goes into the buckle here, this is also 2 pieces of this thin leather, and I glued these together and then sewed them together. There are other ways to do that. There are thicker versions of this type of leather. I just happen to have this thin leather, and it was way too thin for using for straps, so I just glued it together and sewed it together, and it's held up great too. As I was walking around while we were touring Ireland, I would fidget with this and just kind of mess with the edges, and though they're glued and sewed, they have stayed completely together. So they've been really, really solid. And of course, because it's an oil finished leather, it's really soft. It feels so nice. It just feels really, really luxe, but it's also really flexible. And so what's also nice about that is that at first, when I first started carrying this, these were kind of stiff, and so it actually was, to be really frank with you, it was a little bit uncomfortable because these would kind of dig into the side of my arms. But as the leather has matured and gotten a little bit dirty and a little bit sweaty and just kind of worked out, now it's really, really soft. However, if I put these into production, the one big change that I would make is I would not do straps where I sew the edges together like this. What I would do instead, what I will do, in fact I've done some prototypes in my shop, what I will do instead is I will take a piece of leather and I will put some padding in it, and I will wrap it around and then sew it down the middle so that the edges are actually just rounded and soft. I wish I'd done that with these because that would be so comfortable. So that's what you will see if this goes into production. Same type of leather, super soft, but with a different kind of construction so that you don't get that stiff edges poking into you. Partially for at least 50% for just style. I put, again, same oil finished leather on the bottom, but of course this also adds tons of durability, and you can see that it's, I've had this all over the place and it's hardly scratched up at all. It's really just taking on already a nice patina. So it's also, of course, a way to have one extra layer to attach things. So just like on the front buckle straps, I sewed this into the pack through the leather and then put one rivet. And again, these rivets have a small piece of leather on the back side too. So yeah, that's it. I just happened to, because I was just wanted to look cool, I cut this strap, this cordage out of the same leather, and it's done fine. I've got a little cinch here. It does shed a little bit of leather now and then, so I get these little fuzzies here, but again, I yank on this, I cinch this closed, and it works great. If I put this into production, if you like the idea of the leather, it really is, it's perfectly strong and it works really well. So I can do that, or I can put some paracord or some cordage in here if that's your thing, and that would look just as nice and that would work just as great. And that is, that's really it. I think from a dimension standpoint, again, I can't quite remember because I did this before I was leaving for an international trip, but I think it's 4 inches wide, I think 11 inches wide, 4 inches deep, and probably about 18 inches tall. So I can get real measurements and I will, I'll shore that up. But it is, so it's not giant. It is, what I like about it, especially like recently when I was going on a multi-day trip and I needed my computer, I needed my hard drive, and I needed clothes, and all the stuff that goes along with that, toiletries and everything. It really, even when you are doing just regular old travel and you're not marching off into the woods, where we really try to be as minimalist, or sometimes we try to be as minimalist as possible to test our skills and to keep things light. I kind of like to try to practice that when I'm traveling in the modern world too. I don't always do that, but this pack kind of forces you to do that, and that's cool. So it is, it's different than the wilderness packs, the tactical kind of packs that I make, and I like that. It uses the same attention to detail, same attention to construction, same, the same kind of fail-safe points where they need to be, so that no one piece of the pack, no material all by itself is taking on the full burden of any particular strain. So let me know what you think. If this might be something that you would be interested in, I would be very happy to make these. I would be proud to have these out in the world. I think that you don't see a lot of, you can see tons of travel packs, and some of them are great, most of them are mass produced. So having something that is kind of comes from a point of view of wilderness, of tough use, of standing up to a lot of abuse out in the elements, something you really need to rely on for, frankly, for survival and comfort if you're carrying all your gear with you out into the woods or wherever you're going. Those same principles apply to this, but it just looks a little bit cooler. It's a little bit more designed, but it's still tough as hell. So yeah, there you go. Meandering Maker Travel Ruck, at least that's what I'm calling it at the moment, for lack of a better term. So leave me a comment, shoot me a direct message, send me a carrier pigeon, whatever you like to do, and let me know your thoughts if this is something you would be interested in ordering. I'm sure there are plenty of opinions on things that you would do differently, and I always want to hear those things. There are some things that I would, like I said, that I would do differently already. So as always, any feedback, any comments, any ideas are more than welcome. But I'm also really curious to know if there's any interest in buying one of these and having one of these made for you. And of course, the leather color is up for grabs. The hardware, I can do antique brass, which I did recently on a pack that really beautiful. So there's all kinds of finishes that can be changed out. The zipper can be changed out. The type of zipper can be changed out. All that stuff. The lining. So plenty of room for customization to make it your own. But the design itself, I think, is pretty solid, pretty minimal, and I think it would serve you really well if you do any kind of day tripping, or you want something that you can day trip in, and something you can also day hike in. And I think actually, if you really, these straps are really long, and this the lid goes well over the width of the pack. So if you wanted to strap a tent or a bedroll or a blanket or something in here, I think you could do it overnight in this. In fact, I know you could do it overnight in this if you were kind of doing a minimalist thing. You might look a little bit fancier than you're used to looking out in the woods, but you could definitely do it. So I think the idea of having something that you could feel confident marching out into the woods for a night with everything you need, and then getting onto an airplane the next day, I think that's pretty cool and hard to find piece of gear. So that's why I really like it. So there you go. Enough rambling from me. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Now I gotta get out of Nebraska.